This episode discusses themes of childhood illness, medical uncertainty, and the emotional challenges of parenting through unexpected health crises. These topics may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening and prioritize your mental and emotional well-being.
For the haters, come on to it now or later. Yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story. We'll be waiting. For the haters, whoa.
Welcome back, everyone, to For the Haters. Today, we're talking about the unexpected challenges of parenthood, resilience, and the power of partnership. Our guests, Heather and Remington, always dreamed of becoming parents, but nothing could have prepared them for the journey they would take together. At just 5 months old, their daughter was diagnosed with a perinatal stroke, a condition many people don't even realize can happen to infants. Later, she also faced a terrifying diagnosis of infantile spasms. Through countless hospital visits, tests, and treatments, Heather and Remington have fought side by side to give their daughter the best possible future, while also working to raise awareness for other families navigating similar challenges. They're here today to share their story, the heartache, the resilience, and the strength they've found in each other. This conversation is an important reminder that parents facing medical uncertainties are not alone. Let's get into it. All right, Heather and Remington, thank you both for being here. Let's just start out by introducing yourselves and sharing a little bit about your journey into parenthood.
Well, thank you for having us. I'll start. So my name is Heather, and I, of course, always wanted to be a mom, like since a young age. So doing that together was something like I couldn't wait to do, especially after we got married. And for a while there, I was constantly like, come on, let's have a baby. Let's have a baby. And he wasn't ready yet. So we waited a couple years, and then the time finally came, and it's honestly been the best experience of our life, but also the scariest of our life as well. I'll let you go.
Yeah, so my name's Remington. I'm a middle school science teacher. We met on Tinder, actually, which is funny because it's just there's that stigma that goes along with Tinder,
We used it how
like a dating app, like
Yeah.
not the stigma,
Yeah.
but we met. She saw I was already a teacher, and she was studying to be a teacher, so we kind of clicked with that right away. And then, pretty much
How long ago was that? How long have you guys been together?
Almost 9 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been married for 6 years, but met 9 years ago. And our first date, we went to a restaurant. We were there for like 5 hours just talking.
Yeah, we closed the place down. Like it was like what, 2
in the morning.
We
Yeah.
left like, oh, we should probably go.
Yeah. It's like, oh. But I remember leaving that day like, wow, there's something different about that guy. Like he's not what I expected, but he was pretty cool. And now here we are today.
I left like, oh, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he literally took me out because he wanted pizza, not necessarily like to take me out. But you know what? We got
It all
lucky.
worked out.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
It's funny because the first time we met, I for those that are listening and not watching on any sort of a platform, they have so much chemistry between them, like through the screen, you can like tell that they really love each other, and it's always it's always just really beautiful to see. And I just had another recording this morning, and a part of it, we spoke through how important it is to pick the right partner to do life with. And I just love when I meet people who have met the right partner that they've chosen to continue to go through all the things that life throws at us. So
It's definitely could be challenging, that's for sure.
Yeah. We've been through our own tough times together too. And going through a medical challenge with your child brings out a whole unexpected, I don't even know, just so much unknown. And it is nice to know that we have each other, because I couldn't have done any of this or continue as we go like without someone so supportive as him. So.
Mhm. When did you get pregnant?
So our daughter, we only have one daughter, and
Mhm.
she is 16 months old. So 16 months ago, she was.
When you had your daughter, was everything right off the bat, like everything was fine? When did you notice something that seemed different with her?
I
Yeah.
would say we had a rough start just because we did have to have an emergency C-section
Mm-hmm.
because Heather wasn't feeling her move as much. And she was like a wiggle worm in the belly. Heather wasn't feeling her move, and I was at work. So she was texting me, and I just said, just call the doctor and just do what they say,
Mhm.
And I'm
what,
pretty
yeah.
stubborn. Like, I just sometimes I'm like, no, everything's fine, because I was only 36 weeks pregnant. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, 40 weeks is full term. Like, that's when she's going to come. And I had just gone on maternity leave, like literally day 2 of maternity leave. And I was like, no, I'm good. And then I started having some cramping. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I am in labor. So I called and they told me, like, here's a couple things to look for. And the biggest thing was, like, make sure you're feeling her move this many times every hour. And I didn't feel her move. So
Mhm.
we went in, and yeah, her heart rate was dipping a lot. And so they ended up taking me in for emergency C-section that day. So she was technically premature, but at 36 weeks, 2 days. And so it
Mhm.
wasn't like too bad. Thankfully, she didn't have to go to the NICU. And from that moment, everything was fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
she was healthy. I was healthy. We were good. We didn't stay any extended amount of time. And we just went home with her, and everything was great. And then I would say it wasn't until she was about 5 months old that we finally realized, like, I had like this gut feeling, and everybody tells you, like, as a mom, like,
Mhm.
something's wrong, and you have to trust your gut instinct, because I knew as soon as she started like reaching for toys and playing for toys, I was like, why is she only using her left side? Like, she only would reach with her left arm. And I would try to get her to do it with her right arm, and like it just wasn't happening. And so for just a small, like maybe just a couple days, I thought to myself, well, she's just going to be left-handed, like no big deal. And so I did go to good old Google, which can sometimes be bad, but honestly, in this case, it really did help, because it it literally said, if your child's showing a hand preference, you have to contact your doctor, because they
Mhm.
don't do that till about the age of 2.
Interesting.
So I got a phone appointment with her doctor, and I let her know what was happening. And she immediately, I could tell she was concerned. And so I started kind of freaking out. So she's like, I want you to go get a CT scan today. And then she had scheduled an appointment for that evening to go over the results. So we took her right away, took her to get her CT scan. That was hard because she's only 5 months old. She wasn't staying very still. So
Mhm.
I remember the guy kept telling me, you got to keep her still. You got to keep her still. I'm like, I'm trying. I'm doing the best I
And
can.
they didn't let
Yeah.
me in
And they didn't
either,
let him in or anything. So,
so I couldn't help.
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But I immediately knew, I was like, okay, I know something's not going to, it's going to show something. And I knew that. And so we went home. Our appointment wasn't for another couple of hours, but I got an email that the results were in. So I pulled up the results. I'm reading through it, and I'm like, okay, I know they found something. I'm
Mhm.
reading through all this medical jargon that didn't make any sense to me. And of course, I'm Googling certain words and pulling things out. And I'm like, okay, well, they found something, but I don't know what. But that was like, I mean, we immediately panicked. And then we went to the doctors that night. And at that moment, the doctor had said, we don't know what it is, but there is an area in her brain that shows a significant amount of fluid. It could be a stroke. It could be this. It could be that. Of course, our minds went to the worst. Like, does she have brain cancer? Is it a tumor? Like,
Mhm.
what is it? And so for them, they were like, we have to get in for an MRI and kind of go from there. But I mean, goodness gracious, I don't even know. They couldn't get us in for an MRI right away.
Mhm.
And so that was really frustrating. We had to wait like months for her MRI. So there was this time period of, we don't know what's going on, but we know something's wrong. So that was really hard to just live our lives normally when we know there's something wrong with our child, but we aren't going to know exactly until she gets an MRI.
Well,
That has to be overwhelming though, right? Like not being able to get into the doctor right away when there's showing like even fluid in her brain. Like there can be a million different reasons of why that's there, and there was no urgency from any type of medical provider to give you.
Yeah, and that was very terrifying because it's like, okay, I mean, I got to the point where I'm thinking the worst and I was scared to put her down for bed. Like, is she gonna wake up? Like, just so, and I already deal with a lot of anxiety, and so does he. And so, and like, it just was not a good combination for sure. And then it wasn't until she was 7 months old when she started having what's called infantile spasms. Um, and that was something when we first noticed her doing like very odd things with her face. And I was like, what is she doing? Like, is that normal? And then a couple days went on, and then I started noticing every time she woke up from sleep, she was doing like odd body jerking. And you could see her eyes like shooting to the side. And in my mind, I'm like, is she having a seizure or what is this? So I started recording. And then when I looked up what she was doing, the only thing that came up was infantile spasms. And everything was saying, like, this is a medical emergency. You need to take your child in right away, all this kind of stuff. So thankfully, we got her into her doctor. We showed her the videos. And she was concerned, and she did think that's what was happening. But the only way to know is for an EEG to happen, where they measure the brain waves and things like that. So this was on a Friday, and they wanted us to come back Monday, and she was going to be admitted to the hospital for that. But on Father's Day, because it was that Sunday, I remember it.
My first Father's Day.
His first Father's Day, yeah. It got to be really bad. And it was to the point where she was having them over and over and over again. And she was like inconsolable in between. So we just, we took it upon ourselves. We took her to the emergency room that day. And we took her specifically to the hospital that she was going to be admitted at, which was like probably an hour and a half from our house. And thankfully we did. I mean, they got her in, and the whole visit was wild. Like, to just be in the hospital with your child and have them hooked up to all of these things. Like, even just seeing your child do an EEG is so scary because they have all these electrodes on their brain, and it was absolutely terrifying. And then that was when they did confirm she was having infantile spasms. They ended up getting her in for her MRI while we were there. And then that's when they were able to determine that she had a perinatal stroke. That typically occurs in the womb, like right before delivery or during delivery or right after birth. And
So we're thinking that we told you her heart rate was going up and down. We had to do emergency C-section. I mean, there's no way to really know for sure, but the doctors say like most likely is she had the stroke the day she was born, because that's why you weren't feeling her move, and they don't know why. I mean, they didn't find the umbilical cord wrapped around her neck. Nothing. They just said honestly, it's just a case of really, really bad luck.
Yeah. Which it's wild to think like there's these things that happen to children. It's not preventable. Like I had a very healthy pregnancy. I took my vitamins, like I did all the things I was supposed to do. And so you can't help in those moments. Like, did I do something wrong? Did I miss something? Should I have gone sooner? Because I was being stubborn, like, oh, everything's fine. It's fine, but from what the doctors have said, like, you can't prevent it. It just happens, and it's very rare.
Yeah, it's impressive though that you proactively thought about the admission process too, right? Like not just going to the closest ER, going to the place that had the care. If she ended up getting, which she did, admitted that you wouldn't have to worry about transfers or anything of the complications of that.
Called the nurses hotline before we went. They recommended we go to the hospital that we were going to go to.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just great feedback for someone to learn from too, right? Like thinking proactively in that sense. I mean, a lot of people are overwhelmed just in that moment in general. So being able to do that.
Yeah, it was nice to have that advice for sure,
Hmm.
and I would say about like her medical team has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Like the the insurance company that we go through, um, they were just like, oh, it's a whole ordeal because she's a baby. You put her under to do all this with the MRI. So it's a whole team of people. So that's why they say you can't know for a few months, whatever.
Mhm.
But when we saw the neurologist in the hospital, he must have pulled some strings because
Yeah.
he was like, then we're just talking to him, just whipped out his phone and started doing something. I was like, oh, I don't know if he's just texting his wife what he wants for dinner. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, well, we're gonna do an MRI tomorrow. I was like, oh, cool, thanks. And
Yeah. I think he pushed for it because he knew, like, when a child has infantile spasms, there's so many reasons why they can have them,
Mhm.
but it's a very rare condition. It is a form of epilepsy, so it is a type of seizure, but it just doesn't look like what people think a seizure would look for, like, or look like.
Mhm.
And so that's why it's super important to pay attention to what your child's doing, because I'm like, she's doing these very sudden but small movements, but I just knew it wasn't normal, you know?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't know what normal is, so I've never been around kids, like it's just like, I had no idea, and
Yeah.
I I really hope we don't just freak people out because I'm an overthinker,
Mhm.
myself. So I know if I heard something, I would be on heightened alert to look at my baby. I'm like, are they doing that? Are they doing that? So
Yeah.
um,
Can you be overcautious though? Like at like a reasonable amount? Like I think knowing more is better than knowing nothing.
yeah,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I think, like, truly, there's just something about being a mom. Like, you just know when something's wrong. It's so
Mhm.
weird. It's like, I don't know, it's an energy. I have no idea what it is, but I just knew, like, this isn't normal. And, like, the biggest thing for me is, like, you have to trust your gut and you have to ask questions,
Mhm.
especially with, like, her, right? Like, even now at only 16 months old, like, she doesn't have a voice. We are her voice. We have to advocate for her. We have to get her all the things that she could possibly need for her to have the best chance at a normal, quote unquote, life.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and so it seems like, the initial going to the doctors initially wasn't really the answers that you were hoping to get, right? Like, well, you weren't even able to get answers. You just had one singular scan, and then you were in a waiting period. But it does seem the second visit, when you took kind of matters into your own hand, when you went into the ER, you were able to get like more answers from that, and because you pushed and you knew that you needed help sooner than later, right? Like not months and months later that you were able to get them. What was that reaction like when you first heard the words, perinatal stroke?
it was absolutely terrifying because I have heard of a stroke. I know what that is, but I'm like, my baby had one? Like, what does that mean? And I'm gonna tear up now, but I remember asking the doctor, like, is she gonna be okay? Like at the time I was still so worried, like, that was she not gonna make it through this? Like, how is this going to affect her life? And even now it's kind of like nobody knows how it
Mhm.
will affect her. It's like we're just going day by day, giving her the supports that she needs, and then she'll show us what she's capable of.
Mhm.
But they told us, she had a stroke, and some babies do really well, and every baby's different, affects their everything different, but her particular stroke happened in the left side of the brain, and so it's affecting the right side of her body.
Mhm.
So using her right arm, moving and using her hand, and her leg was affected, so that's really hard for her. She's still, at 16 months, not crawling. She's not walking. She's not able to stand.
Mhm.
And so
But she rolls around a lot.
She rolls around, girlfriend gets around. You'll just see her like, whoop, 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 whoop. And truly, like, I mean, I swear she's getting stronger every day, but
even her therapists feel it too. Like she goes to PT, she's going to start OT, in a week or two. And even they are like, she's very strong. So like, they're very optimistic, but they make it clear they can't promise anything, but they're very
of course.
optimistic. And
Are they?
she
Go
honestly
ahead.
is a very happy baby,
Mhm.
like, a lot of people who have worked with her say cognitively, like they think she's very, very, very bright, and she's very, very goofy.
Yeah.
So to kind of piggyback what Heather was saying about like how did you feel when you first heard perinatal stroke? Well, I mean, I think for me at least it was I think relief is the wrong word, but for lack of a better term, that it wasn't something that sounded terminal. Like it's a shitty situation to be in. But I would take that over like brain cancer or something like that, So in a way, like it kind of made me feel like a tiny bit at ease just because I knew like, okay, her life isn't in danger right now. And that's the most important thing to me, right? At that moment.
Yeah.
Once I kind of process that, then I start processing, okay, well, yeah, she's okay, but now she has like a lifetime of some challenges ahead of her, and we're doing everything we can to give her the support that she needs. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy situation. And from like even talking right now, I can't like stay still. I'm all like antsy and all that. I just hate thinking about it,
Because it was like it's indescribable truly how we felt, but it is a good point that he brought up though, that it was almost a relief that in that moment when I asked, is this life threatening, and they told me no, but we just don't know what this will look for her down the road. It was kind of like a relief, but also still so terrifying because we don't know. And then you have like her neurologist who's amazing, but he will ask us every time we have follow-ups with him, like, is she communicating with you? Does she smile at you? Is she doing this? Is she doing that? And it's really overwhelming because it's just like I don't know what he's going for. Like he's asking these questions for a reason because he's concerned, and so that part of it is scary too.
Yeah, I mean, in these conversations with doctors now, or I know that you said that everyone is different, but do they set any expectations about what that long-term development looks like?
No, and we've been told from other medical professionals to just be cautious if the neurologist tells you like, oh, she'll never be able to walk or she'll never this, because you truly, like, babies are so resilient. And honestly, I've never learned so much about the brain. It's so fascinating how even though she has her left side of the brain is damaged, her neurons are still firing and making connections. And so as she goes to physical therapy and as she goes to occupational therapy, all of those things that we're doing with her will help her brain start to realize. And even now, like, you can see her, she'll start to move her right arm. She'll move it like side to side, and she'll even look at it like, wow, I have another one of these. Like, this is crazy. And I mean, there's so much going for her, but just really about a month or so ago when we followed up with her neurologist again, and after he asked us so many questions, he officially diagnosed her with hemiplegic cerebral palsy. So that opened up a whole new can of worms of terrifying, because we have heard of cerebral palsy before, but we just didn't know all the ins and outs of it.
When you think of cerebral palsy, you just think of a kid like in a wheelchair or a walker or something like that. So,
but we're still not we're still learning about it. But for her, it's specific to her right side. And so, what's nice, I don't even know.
There were air quotes there with nice. Yeah.
About that diagnosis is it does open her up to more resources and things that she could get. And so that's helpful because she does need them. But you know, we're just very busy parents with her, but I will do everything I can to make sure that she gets what she needs. So she has 4 appointments a week, all on different days. And then we have someone that comes to our house that does play therapy with her, which that's
Wow.
been so great too, because like that gives her so much communication experience, and it's really fascinating. But
Yeah, I was gonna ask what, what that changes, right, to your day-to-day life, like, as parents since the diagnosis. It's a
yeah,
lot a lot more appointments and a lot more interactions with,
yeah,
medical
I
staff.
mean,
I mean, people said you'll be busy, but this is really busy.
it is very
Yeah.
busy. It's hard to manage. And one thing I didn't mention was I was a teacher for 7 years. And since finding out about everything going on with her, I did go back this school year. And it was in September where we finally realized, like, I can't be a full-time teacher anymore. Like, it's impossible. And so that was really hard to, step away from everything I worked so hard for.
Mhm.
But it was not like a decision that I had to really think about. It was like, I have to do this for her. There's no other option. So I had to say goodbye to all my 3rd graders. And, you know, they're still so young, they didn't understand. And they're like, well, why can't someone else take care of your daughter? You know, and they're
Yeah.
just like, why do you have to leave? And so that was really challenging too, was to say goodbye to, I had been at the same school for 7 years, and to just walk away. And of course, that took a huge financial toll on us too, because we live in California. It's really expensive. He's also a teacher. I mean, we aren't rolling in the dough, you know? And
Mhm.
so we tried for like 2 months, I want to say, where I just wasn't doing anything but taking care of her full time. And I mean, we couldn't pay our bills. Like, we literally ran out of money.
We were in
We
a
couldn't even
deficit.
buy groceries, you know? And so,
You had to like charge it, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not big, I'm not keen on debt, so but
Yeah.
that's all we had to do.
you
Like,
have to do what you have to
how
do.
do you put a
Yeah.
price tag on giving your daughter your support? You know what I mean? Like, how do you say no? So like, it's
Yeah.
what had to happen.
Yeah. So I very quickly, like, I think it was our first month without my paycheck. I was like, okay, well, I have to find something. I can't not do nothing, you know?
Mhm.
So I thankfully, after a couple months of looking, I found a teaching job virtually. So I teach part-time now from home. And it's still a huge pay cut. I mean, I'm making less than half of what I was making, but it's still doable, and we are okay, and
Yeah.
we are, at least I'm here with her. I get to take her to all of her appointments, and you know, it's not just going to therapy, but doing therapy at home too, because a lot of the work is what you do and what you take from those sessions.
Mhm.
So
What other like treatments and therapies is she, currently doing or had done in the past that she no longer has to do?
oh, that's a good question. Yeah, because when she first was diagnosed with the infantile spasms, that is something that they need to they need to go away. Like, they
Mhm.
can't keep occurring because it creates chaos in the brain, and babies will stop developing, like doing their milestones and those kinds of things. And sometimes babies that were rolling won't be able to roll anymore. And just things like that. So the first line of treatment that she had to do for infantile spasms was a very high dose steroid
Mm.
for, I think it was like 8 weeks. And that was really tough. She was not the same baby from when she started those
Her
steroids.
doctor called it roid rage. Like, it
Yeah.
really was roid rage.
Hmm.
Like, you couldn't.
She was
She's
just
inconsolable all
inconsolable
day.
all day long, screaming, crying. She didn't want to eat. It was very challenging, and she like blew up like a balloon. I mean, she didn't even look like the same baby anymore. And that time of our life was probably the hardest, because we went from having this smiling, happy baby to a baby that was miserable, and you could just see it on her face. Even just taking a bath, she screamed, and it makes your skin really sensitive. So I think any touch and things like that was just so hard for her. But thankfully, she stopped having her spasms like that night. Or no, I think it was that night.
They got reduced
They got
significantly.
reduced, and then the very next day, she didn't have any. But that treatment was scary because they said, like, as she weaned off the steroid, they could come back. And if they come back, there's the second line of treatment that we'd have to start. But thankfully, they never came back, and they're still not back. And so we pray every single night, like, please keep her seizure and spasm free. Because of her condition, she's like at a very high risk of developing other forms of epilepsy. But we just have to watch her and monitor her. So as of right now, she's on no medication. And her only treatment right now is just, of course, constant doctor visits to keep everything up to date, but physical therapy and occupational therapy, and then her play therapy.
Yeah. And I mean, throughout this, and you don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable with it, but I mean, the financial burden is just like, that's financial burden alone is just really hard. And when it's to care for someone that you care about so much, right? Like sometimes people put things off about themselves because it's just me, whatever. But for a child, I'm hoping in the state of California as a teacher, you at least have like your benefits for her from a medical perspective, you're able to use those and you're able to get a lot of that covered so that your medical costs aren't significant impact.
So luckily when Heather had to quit, she lost her insurance benefits, so we pay for her insurance outright. But our daughter,
it was too expensive for me to go on his.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. You think every school will be the same, but it's actually cheaper for us to pay for her health insurance outright and just for me to clean my daughter than it is to have a whole family plan where I work. It's just
so
dumb.
Weird.
Yeah.
So
benefits are a nightmare.
Yeah, they are a nightmare.
Yeah.
And this whole experience has like definitely made me like kind of change my worldview as far as like I'm so like we're so blessed that I have the healthcare that I get from my job that I'm able to like claim my daughter on. But it's just like, dude, to think about how not everybody has that. It's just made me like, oh my God, like what would we do if we were one of those people? Like what would we do?
Yeah. I would say though, the biggest thing that we didn't know about that our doctor recommended us do, and then I can't remember, I think it was like a family friend mentioned it to us. And I don't know if it's like something that everybody has access to statewide, but like in California, we have
in our county,
we have a regional center that we were able to qualify for. And so that's who pays for her play therapist to come. And then they also are paying for our co-pays for therapy.
Wow.
Because she has 4 appointments a week. We could not afford them.
Because that's $200 a month. I mean, it's $25 a visit for a copay.
But that's just our copay through your insurance. Like some people's copay might be more than that. And so I would say for anyone that is needing help, I mean, they help any child with special needs, or even if they just need early intervention, like maybe they're just somewhat delayed in their milestones, the regional centers will help you.
So it might be different state to state, but if anybody's listening to this, like just, I don't know, Google it, ask someone, maybe email someone at your county level, like,
or ask a pediatrician.
Is there a center that we could get a hold of that like works with kids with disabilities who are delayed? Because there's a ton of resources we get. We had no idea that even existed. Yeah.
The lack of access to resources is just it's such a disappointment, because there are resources out there that so many people just don't know are available to them, and everyone makes but the insurance just makes it so hard to get access to care that we need. I resonate so much with what you said. I've experienced different things in life where, you know, health insurance has basically saved people that I care about. And if they didn't have access to health insurance, it's really disappointing to know that they're going to get less care than they deserve just because they're unable to afford that. And I think that there's just like a beautiful silver lining in just that recognition, right? Like it makes you a lot more empathetic for those for people in general, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. Like, just no one deserves to not get the care that they need, or no one
Or to go
deserves
without.
to go
Yeah.
without, to not be able to provide their children with the care that they need.
Yeah.
When you're a parent, it's like I give a shit what happens to me. Like, let's protect my
Yeah.
baby.
Yeah. Like I'd give
So,
anything, like
yeah,
literally anything for yeah.
Literally. Yeah.
yeah,
Like there were so many nights I would just lay in bed crying, like, why can't it be me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why her? What did she do?
Yeah.
She didn't ask to be here. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it is challenging, but the biggest thing is to just advocate like crazy for your kids when you feel like something's wrong, and get help and ask questions, because you never want your child to go without. And the scariest thing too is for babies that are having any delay in a milestone, early intervention's key. Like they
Mm-hmm.
say from age 0 to 3 is so important because of the brain development and all of the neurons firing and making new connections. And so thank goodness I figured it out so early, because she was able to start therapy very quickly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that you guys you're not through by any means, right? Like you are every day is a different story. Every day is a different journey for you. What does it emotionally, what was that?
I didn't hear the question. We're not true.
No,
No,
we're
you're
not.
not through. You're
Oh,
not,
gotcha.
yeah. No, it's okay. Like you're not through it, right? Like your story, you're still in your story, right?
Yeah.
Like you're not through it at all. Like there's no
Mhm.
finale to this. You're currently going through it. And so what does that look like right now emotionally? Like is there any difference from when it started? Are you at a different place emotionally now? How do you take care of yourselves? How do you make sure that the both of you are also not even staying physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well?
Yeah, I would say every day, like I have never lived by this motto more true than I do now, is like one day at a time. Like, and I
Mhm.
literally have to live in that because every day is so different. And I know tomorrow something could happen, and so the way I've been trying to live is just one day at a time, spend as much time as I possibly can with her while still caring for myself. And it has been hard. Like him and I both have gained a lot of weight from where we were prior to having her, because it is hard. There isn't much time to work out or eat healthy, and things like that, because we are so focused on her.
And then when we're in the thick of it, like I just wanted any sort of like to feel good, So I got a lot of my dopamine fixes through food, I
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
like just wanted
It's like, oh, today
something,
was so hard. Who cares? Let's just get a burrito, or,
Yeah.
like,
or a huge rack of ribs or something. So I just want to, kind of self-soothing in my own way, and
yeah. I would say we're still trying to learn how we can take care of ourselves,
Mhm.
um, and have time to ourselves, because it is hard. But one thing that, I mean, we do all together, we go for walks every day, and that's really been helpful. Like to just get fresh air. Our dog gets to get out.
Mhm.
Our daughter loves going for walks. So it
Yeah.
kind of is like a whole family affair.
yeah. Um, from my perspective, I mean, like how it looks right now, like it's definitely day to day. I've always think about. I hope something crazy doesn't happen today. But
Mhm.
I'm also trying to like live in the moment and just kind of realize that right now she's happy, and I don't want to be caught in the what ifs. You mentioned mental health. I think it's super important. Heather and I both have our. She mentioned we're both high anxiety people. Um,
Mhm.
and we both dealt with stuff in the past. So
We've both gone
yeah.
to therapy, and
So in a way, I'm like I'm glad that happened to me in the past because it allowed me to better prepare myself,
Mm-hmm.
more tools in my toolbox to handle something like this.
Mhm.
But it's all about just kind of being mindful of the moment and just kind of seeing things for what it is right now and not what if or what could be. Just
Mm-hmm.
kind of being in the moment. We got Disneyland passes, so we're like, we just told you that, it sounds irresponsible. I've told you we took a
Yeah.
financial hit, but like we were just like, you know what, we had such a shit last summer.
You
Yeah.
deserve it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're like, Liz, and May loves it. Like she doesn't know like what it is,
Yeah.
but she knows that she loves it. That's all
Yeah,
she
she
knows.
has the time of her life there. And like even his mom told me the other day, because she comes over and helps me with her while I'm working.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I'm so glad you guys got those passes. Like you guys are having so much fun. And she's like, you guys really deserve to go. And truly, like when we go, I still think about it, like and everything that we're going through, but I'm also just so happy. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's
And to see her so happy, it
yeah.
makes it like because like you know, I don't know how to describe how rough it was when she was on a steroid medication. I mean, it was a mind screw because you're giving her this medicine she didn't want it, and this medicine is helping her, but you
Mm-hmm.
also know this medicine is turning her into something she's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard to do it. But like now she's happy. I'm like, why delay something or whatever? Let's just go and have
Yeah.
fun at Disneyland. She deserves it and she
Yeah.
loves it. She loves rides. She loves everything. The only time she throws tantrums is when the ride's over. It's like she wants to go again. So,
Yeah,
just that,
you guys deserve that.
yeah,
I wouldn't question that as well.
yeah. I'll say, oh
I know we
man,
did feel bad.
Yeah. No, no, no judge. Listen, I am the least judgmental person. Well, I shouldn't say that, but in situations like this, I'm the least judgmental person that there is. So no, I would have bought if you next time. Call me. I'll buy you passes to Disneyland.
No, but you know what? We didn't buy the highest tier, so I feel a little bit better
yeah.
because at first I was like, no, we're going big, no blockout dates. Like, okay, no.
Never mind. We need let's.
I'm not reasonable.
Yeah. What do you feel like the most unexpected thing has been, right? Like I know that probably everything isn't something that you were expecting to happen, but is there any specific moment or specific, chapter that really sticks out that you're like, "Oh yeah, this was the most unexpected part of this so far."
I think just the first initial, like, something's wrong with her brain
Mhm.
and we don't know what, that was probably the most unexpected because I knew, like, having a child, like, you go through when you're pregnant so many different tests and things, that could potentially go wrong, but you never really think that you will have a child that has a disability or have something go wrong, and so that first initial, like, "Uh-oh, something is going on in her brain,"
Mhm.
was really scary, and probably the most unexpected. And then
Yeah.
I would say, like, for whatever reason, her being diagnosed with cerebral palsy was the other most unexpected thing because that, like I said, just opened up a whole new world of
And that was
things.
just recently. That was
Yeah.
Yeah, about a month ago.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But we learned a lot from that cerebral palsy is like a spectrum.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We're by no means experts in it, but it's not one size fits all. Like it manifests so differently across just like I said, a huge spectrum.
Yeah.
Some people with cerebral palsy live, pretty, air quote normal lives. Some people have, they're affected a lot by it, so it
Mhm.
just depends on the person. And
Yeah. Have you guys found any other, I know that you spoke about this center in your county, but have you found any other resources or support groups that have significantly helped you?
One thing for me, well, I have found a couple people on Instagram that have just been sharing their child story, like with
Mhm.
infantile spasms. It's just so hard because so many
No one's ever heard of it.
Nobody has ever heard of it. It is extremely rare, but there are so many kids that you find. Like, you can just search the hashtag on Instagram, infantile spasms, and you'll find so much stuff. So that's what I initially did. That, though, was kind of like, it was a good thing, but a bad thing, because I was reading things that were really scary. And because it's so different for every child, and the reason why they have them is so different, that was hard. But I have found a few people, just like they're sharing their own personal story. But March was actually, it still is March. March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month. And so I found a group, they're called CP Strong. And so a lot of people who have cerebral palsy are in that group, and they're sharing their stories. And that's really encouraging too, because I have just read the coolest stuff. Like, and a lot of people with cerebral palsy, from what it seems, they're just like, it doesn't define who I am. Like, I'm.
Some of them say they wouldn't change it.
They wouldn't change it. Yeah, they love that they have it, and they're just thriving. So that is very encouraging for sure. And I know, like, just with how happy she is and how goofy she is, like, she has such a funny personality. Like, I'm determined, like, she's gonna do something one day with this, you know?
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish that parents knew more about these conditions?
I would say just, I don't know.
It's that's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I guess I wish more people talked about it. Like, you know, there's a push for people talking about like mental health more. You know, I think people should be talking about disabilities more, and that might help. You know, and you know, there's, you know, because we didn't know any better about, you know, cerebral. To me, cerebral palsy meant wheelchair, but that's not necessarily the case. You know, and more people talked about it. You know, and then maybe you know, maybe there wouldn't be such a misunderstanding.
Yeah, maybe just like talk about disabilities in general more, because there are so many disabilities, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk a little bit about you guys too. I think that the two of you are a huge part to this story, obviously, and parenting a child with medical challenges can be incredibly stressful. How has this experience either strengthened or, you know, tested your relationship?
I would say it's done both, for sure. It's kind of funny because we both go through like if I'm really having a rough time, like, he's good. And then he's having a rough time and I'm good. So it's almost like we unintentionally like balance each other out. And the biggest thing too is just listening. You know, a few weeks ago, I was like really going through it and having such a hard time. And this was shortly after she had the official diagnosis of cerebral palsy. But I just like was just so mad, like just so mad and upset. And he just listened to me. And that truly, I feel like listening to how each other are feeling, like, is almost validating, like, okay, I'm feeling this, I'm not the only one. But then also too has brought us closer because we're able to talk about how we feel and support each other, you know. But it has tested us for sure. There's times where I'm just like, please, like, you can go over there, I'll be right here. Like, we just drive each other crazy too. But I think that in general is just how it works when you have a spouse, you know. Like, you have to choose to love your spouse every day, because I'm not perfect, he's not perfect, things that he does drives me crazy and vice versa, but we're in this together, and I still wouldn't want it any other way. You know?
I agree. I think the only thing we have like against us is that like we have that extra layer of stress and like just tiredness that some people might not have. So I think it kind of shortens our fuse a little bit with each other, because we're the ones who are around each other all day, you know. So so it's definitely you know, I would say, but more or less, it has brought us way closer together, because I can't imagine going through this with like anybody else, you know, like, because the best way I could describe it is that Heather just sacked up, like, for lack of a better term. Like, she quit her job, like, she took on the role of like being May's physical therapist at home. Like, she does her exercises. She's really freaking diligent with everything, and like May couldn't have had a better mom than Heather.
So nice.
Well, I'm not trying to suck up. I'm
No.
not.
I'm like,
But
what do you want?
no, but really, like, I know that when I'm at work, my mom, obviously Heather has to work. It's just the situation what it is right now.
But
Only
thankfully,
so
I
much
only
time.
work a couple hours a day, and it's
And
during
then,
a time where like it's okay that she's away from me for a couple hours.
Yeah.
but I know that my daughter is getting the best, care,
Mhm.
from Heather and my mom, but Heather's the one who's like in the nitty gritty of it, doing all the exercises. And I feel bad sometimes that therapists ask me, oh, how's she doing this? I'm just like, I don't know. How's she doing it? Like, I'm so busy, like I'm always just at work. And then I come home, I only have like a couple hours with May because she goes to bed
Mhm.
around 7.
Mhm.
Are we allowed to say her name?
Yeah, we
Okay,
can say her
okay.
name.
It's like,
Yeah, we didn't
uh,
say her name. Yeah, her name is Maylin,
Maylin.
Yeah.
Okay.
but we call her May for short. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I only see her. I get home like 3:30, between 3:30 and 4. She goes to bed around 7, and then most of the time she has some sort of appointment we go to. So
Mhm.
it's like I'm just there to like soak it in, like to have fun with her and
Yeah.
hang out with her. Because before you know it, like it's time for bed. I'm like, I'll see you tomorrow. So it's like,
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be hard too, though, right? Like, obviously, there's two sides to it, but that has to be difficult not being able to be there to support more.
yeah, it's definitely, and that's when I say like Heather's like a rock star. Like she is killing
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And as far as I don't really have any like support groups. I don't really I just go on Instagram for like funny memes and all that stuff. I'm not really like involved in it.
Or
But
like pet videos.
pet videos and all that, yeah. But I would say as far as like a support system, like our therapists and our families have been amazing. Like our therapists, like her therapists, I should say, are so like on her side or so like team May that whenever she does something like she does something like the other day she finally kind of started sitting up with very minimal assistance from
Mhm.
being around to sitting on her own, like that transition.
Because
And
she typically would need help. If she's sitting, she needs help to lay down. If she's laying down, she needs help to sit
yeah,
back up. And she did most of the work to sit up. And I mean,
her
just the way her
therapist was
therapist,
watery-eyed,
yeah,
because she was so proud of her. Like there's all
Mhm.
so invested in her, and it's like this is a crappy situation to be in, but like we're also very blessed and fortunate at the same time.
yeah.
Mhm.
Whether
You can
people
just
understand or
tell,
not. Yeah.
like, they love her. You just like, and it's just the best because I love her so much. I'm like, yes, you should love her too.
Yeah.
They're choosing, I mean, gosh, but maybe because she's my kid, but truly, like, she is such a little light, and
Mhm.
like people just love her. They just look at her and they're like, wow, like she's so cute and smiling.
Yeah.
So it's great to have that, and also too, like our family.
Yeah, just when the summer she was on a steroid, like she went down, like, and it sounds really crappy, but it was when she went down for the night, it was like a relief, like finally, no crying, and we
Mhm.
know, but we couldn't leave, we can't just leave and go take a walk because the baby's home, so my parents would come over and something as simple as just we'll just sit there and watch TV and watch the monitor. Like, you guys go for a walk, and that so just be me and Heather and the dog, and that was just awesome. Like just being able to get outside because we
Mhm.
spent like
Our whole summer inside the house.
inside just kind of like watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and that's the only thing that would stop her from crying.
Yeah.
Mhm. The initial question that is, it's not even a question, it's a statement. I just want to get this off my chest. I think it's like important to also recognize, right? Like we think about having a kid and raising a kid, and there's moments where they become a lot more less dependent on you, right? Like
Mhm.
they can sit up, they can start feeding themselves, they can walk, right? And you guys are in it a lot, like in that stage that a lot of people find themselves frustrated in for a lot longer than other parents have to go through.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it takes so much more patience and understanding that I think it's important to recognize and be proud of yourselves for, because a lot of people would just be overwhelmed just with that thought of things, right? I sh- she's gonna get there. She's gonna get to those milestones. But I think it's important to recognize that that milestone is a little bit prolonged right now.
Yeah, no, it's true. And it is hard because even like his mom is like such a teeny tiny lady. And I swear, May is like half her size now.
She's in the 99th percentile.
Yeah, she's very long. But, she's getting heavier, but I mean, she can't walk, she can't stand. And you do need to be on the floor with her when she's sitting and playing in case she falls over. And so it does require a lot. And I know, like his mom has mentioned, like, and I don't even want to put this out there, but it's like, eventually it's going to be even harder and harder to hold her and carry her from one place to another.
Yeah.
But I refuse to believe that she's not going to walk or anything like that. Like, I know she will get there.
What do you feel like this experience has changed? Has it changed your outlook on parenthood? How has it changed your outlook on life?
Empathy. Yeah. And just like, so much can change in the blink of an eye, and you have to genuinely enjoy each and every day because you don't know what tomorrow brings. And I mean, it's challenging, like as far as like a parent, especially for me. Like, I wanted to be a mom so bad, and I love being a mom. It's the best thing I've ever done, and I would love to have more children. But it has changed our outlook on that too, because Maylin requires so much, and we don't want to take away anything from her, any time from her. So that's kind of even changed just like the way we view our family and whether or not we will have more children down the road, because we don't want, I mean, I couldn't even imagine, like roughly this would be the time frame I would have loved to like try to have a second kid, for them to just be a couple years apart. But I can't even imagine like being pregnant right now, or having a newborn with how much care she needs. What
about you, Remington? How
has it changed your outlook?
How is it? Yeah. How has it like changed your perspective and experience?
Just like empathy, I can't describe it any other way. Just being empathetic with people, and that you just don't know what people are going through, and a lot of people just see like, oh, look, a cute baby, and she is cute. But like, you don't know like the backstory that, that we're going through, that like, that we just experienced.
Or people will ask like, oh, wow, like she must be getting to everything right now, huh? Oh my gosh, like how's that going?
She's driving you nuts. She must be walking and crawling.
Yeah.
Like, she's not. And one thing, I guess another thing it made me realize to keep my mouth shut. Not that I did anything, but we mentioned she was really swollen. And people would say, oh, chubby little baby, you must eat so much. It's like, no, bitch. Like she's on this medication,
Yeah.
I don't know if we can cuss on this.
You can. It's fine. Yeah.
I shouldn't. I try not to cuss.
No.
Yeah.
But it's like, there was no ill intent.
No, people mean well, genuinely, but it's like,
no, like she is like that because of something she's going through, not because she's a baby who likes to eat. But thank you for pointing it out.
Even just feeling like you have to explain, like, one thing Maylin does have to do, and I forgot to mention this, is because her right eye strays a lot. So her ophthalmologist wants her to wear an eye patch for an hour a day over her left eye so that her right eye is exposed, to just help train the brain to use both eyes as efficiently as it can. So, she wears it. Sometimes we go to the grocery store or we're out for a walk and people will, oh, what's wrong with your baby? Why is her eye covered? And you feel like you have to constantly explain everything, but and that makes it challenging too.
Yeah. I'm
sorry.
No, it's all good. No, you're good. I had a thought. I know what it is. Is we're all in this together. I know everybody's going through something. Everybody has their challenges, and what's like normal, like there's no such thing as normal. What's normal for us could be not normal for someone else, and it just doesn't make something better or worse. It's just But one thing is that we are all in this together. Like I don't want to be the kind of person that will make someone feel bad, or definitely being a teacher, I definitely have a new perspective with the kids that walk into my class. Like, so
Mhm.
some of them drive me nuts still, of course they do, but also um look at just parents and kids differently. It's just we're all in this thing called life together. And I know it sounds really cliche, but if it wasn't for people who dedicated their lives to help kids, these um pediatric neurologists or pediatricians or physical therapists or occupational therapists, all specialize in helping kids,
Hmm.
like thank God for them, honestly. And it just makes me feel like as a society, we need to all be in the same team, because
Yeah.
we all have the things and we need to help each other out.
Mhm.
We're all a lot more connected than we think. I always
Mhm.
like to say that our experiences might not be the same, but like the pain of life is universal, and it's so
Mhm.
much it's so much easier when we do things together, when you have that support around you.
Mhm.
With that, what advice would you both give to a parent that might just be starting a similar journey?
Just advocate for your kid as much as you can, and don't take no for an answer, because sometimes you do have to keep asking, and you have to. I mean, I there was one day that I was just on and off the phone for hours, and that was just simply trying to find somewhere that could take her for physical therapy,
Hmm.
because there isn't enough physical therapists and occupational therapists, and there's huge wait lists. And so I was just calling and calling and calling. But you have to take the time, and you have to advocate for your child, because they can't do it for themselves. So that would be my biggest advice. Just keep doing what you know you have to do, and
Hmm.
don't give up.
I would, basically second that. You gotta be your kid's voice. You gotta you sometimes you have to raise your voice at people on the phone. They're taking forever to get like an approval or whatever. Like we finally found a place, and they were just waiting for our insurance company to like sign off, and that was taking weeks. So I called and I apologized to the person who answered the phone ahead of time, but I said, I started using some coarse language. I was like, this is ridiculous. It
Hmm.
shouldn't be this bad. Like my daughter needs freaking therapy now. And she agreed, and I don't know what she did, but all of a sudden it was approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I've had so many people that I've talked to on the phone through insurance and all sorts of different avenues, like telling me, wow, like good for you for advocating for your child, which blows me away. I'm like, are people
Yeah.
not doing this?
yeah, you
Yeah.
should have asked me for this.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, why are you making it so we have to? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like that was
it's
awkward.
wild. Yeah. And I'm
You're
like,
welcome.
I never know. I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm like, I'll do whatever I have to do for her.
Yeah.
She's nothing but the best. But
Yeah.
Fortunately,
yeah.
that is not the case. Like, just being a teacher is like you hear some stories about like
Hmm.
you feel really bad for the kid because their parents aren't
Yeah.
invested, and that kind of just blows my mind.
It's unfortunate. You can think about, both sides of it, and just how unlucky some people are to be in their situations, but then just having support around you makes that luck 10 times different, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If someone is out there and wants to connect with you guys, if you're comfortable with it, how can someone reach you, either on socials or on by email, whatever you're comfortable with sharing?
Well, we both are on Instagram. I think both of our profiles are private though. But I mean, I wouldn't mind if somebody wanted to reach out
Because they could
via
DM me,
Instagram.
like say, "Hey, this is how I
Yeah.
heard of you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your Instagram handle?
Mine is Mrs. Heather Lynn, I believe. Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
I don't know
We'll
mine.
add it. We'll tag you and add it in the description
Okay.
too. So
I'm like, oh, yeah, it's
we'll
Miss.
add your email in there as well. So look in the
Yeah, that's
description
perfect
for
too. Yeah.
for all the things. But I do like to end my episodes now with asking one final question. It's crazy how time just goes, right? I know you guys were a
Yeah.
little nervous to begin, but it's already been well over
Yeah.
an hour of talking.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so my final question, and each of you can answer individually, is if you could say something to your younger self, what would it be? You can take a second to think about it if you need to.
Oh, that's a really good question.
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff I would go back and tell myself.
Yeah, something just keeps coming to my mind, and it's just what's meant to be will happen in the right time. Because there was so many times where, like I had mentioned at the beginning, like when we first got married, like I wanted to have a baby right away.
I was terrified.
And he was terrified. And he was like, I don't want to have a kid right now. And having a child was scary for him. And I'm like, but we're married, like let's just have a kid. And I was so like pushy on it. And now looking back, I wish I could tell myself, and I even used to have like a timeline, like I want to be married by this age, have a baby by this age, and like just planning so much out. And it's like, but what for? Like everything will happen in the right time. And now looking back, like it makes sense why we didn't have Maylin until we did. You know, we were already married, I think like 3 or 4 years roughly by the time we had her. And it all happened when it was supposed to happen in due time.
Yeah, I like that one. You stole my.
You can't, no, that's what kept coming to my brain.
You can't say you stole it.
Said it first. But it's true. Like when you said, like, say what's on your mind or in your heart, I'm like, that is like what I kept thinking of was like, just stop planning your life and just let things happen as they come, you know?
Mhm.
You better come up with something good, Remington.
Yeah. It's similar to what Heather said. It's just kind of, like trust the plan. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be okay. Like to, within reason, don't be afraid to take the risk, and for me, the risk was being a dad, having this responsibility. Like I was nervous of like, well, there's always that chance of having a kid that has like a disability or something, but what are the chances, and then, but we have a kid with disabilities but I wouldn't trade it for the world. Obviously I'd rather her not go through this stuff, but I wouldn't go back in my life and say, well, I wish I didn't do this. Like I'm such a better person now that I'm a dad. I love my daughter. I love her so much. Another thing that came to my mind, I know you asked me for one, sorry.
No, it's okay.
I was talking to Heather earlier because we were talking to a neighbor and, she was saying how her son was getting kind of bullied and all that stuff. And it made me think about this kid that I went to school with. I don't know anything about her, but I know she walked funny, and kids would tease her for that. And then, but now everything that has going on with May, it makes me think of that girl and how the kids would tease her. I don't know. I just kind of wish I stood up for her more. I was telling Heather that this morning. I wish I told those kids to screw off, to leave her alone. And if they beat me up, they beat me up. But like, at least I said, like, I wasn't just an observer or a bystander. I actually tried to help someone who is already probably going through a shitty situation themselves.
Yeah.
That's been on my heart lately. So
thank you for sharing that.
More aware of what people are going through. Yeah.
Unfortunately, our time here has come to an end. I am going to go ahead and read our outro. So any last words? Anything else before we sign off?
I don't think so. I just thank you for doing this and letting us share our story. Yeah.
And then as far as last words, I know sometimes going through stuff could feel very lonely and isolating, but like truly, you are not alone. You are not alone out there. There's resources. There's people going through similar situations. Don't listen to those thoughts that tell you you're all alone. Like there's other people out there, and you could get a team of people to be on your team and your kids' team.
Amazing. Well, Heather and Remington, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Your unwavering love, strength, and partnership through this journey are truly inspiring. You're not only advocating for your daughter, but also shedding light on conditions that many people know little about. Your words will no doubt provide comfort and support to parents who are facing similar struggles. To anyone listening, if you're navigating medical challenges with your child, know that you are not alone. There is hope, there's support, and there are people like Heather and Remington who understand exactly what you're going through. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters. Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community. And remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
It don't matter what your name is, share your story, we'll be waiting.